Well, good afternoon again, and you're very welcome to our little Advent readings. We're following through this little book of Tim Chester called The One True Story, leading us right into Christmas. I'm sure you're all familiar with the Christmas card version of the Advent and the nativity scenes that we see in churches and in schools and even supermarkets. And I'm sure that image is really deeply embedded upon your mind. Perhaps less familiar is the scene that Tim points us to in Revelation 12 when John pictures a really very different scene of nativity. But in order to do that, he points us to Genesis 3 and verse 15. Genesis 3, of course, talks about the fall of mankind into sin. So the sin of Adam then is passed on to mankind. But 3:15 reads like this: I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. That's in Genesis 3:15. And then you have to turn all the way over to the back of the book, almost, to Revelation chapter 12. And there, John paints a very different picture of Christmas. And his picture is one that is really mythological. And don't panic when I say that word. I don't mean myth as in untrue, but I just mean that apocalyptic language that John is writing this revelation in. It's a dream sequence almost, and he writes it in a style that we must get a grip of if we're to understand anything of Revelation. But there he pictures the scene of this woman who is in heaven, and he sees her clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of stars on her head. Not only does he see a woman, but he sees a huge red dragon. And this red dragon has 7 heads and 10 horns, and his tail, John tells us, sweeps a third of the stars out of the sky. This woman is pregnant, and the dragon wants to capture this child and take a hold of the child as soon as the child is born. But of course the story reads on that the child is caught up to God before the dragon can get a hold of him. And then what happens is that a big battle begins in heaven. Michael, the archangel, the chief angel of heaven, begins to wage a war against this dragon, and he overcomes him. And the dragon and his followers are cast out into the earth. And this story, as I've briefly paraphrased and sketched for us this afternoon, is really unfamiliar, isn't it? We would struggle to see many similarities between this and the Christmas story. The one similarity that we must grasp out of this, though, is that the woman has a child. And we can turn to Matthew 1 and find there in the later verses that the woman gives birth to a child. And of course the woman in Revelation is speaking about the people of God, the children of God as it were, and so the people of God, this woman of Revelation 12, is said to birth, albeit through Mary, the Son of God, Jesus himself. And this red dragon, of course, you'll not need any prizes for guessing that the red dragon speaks of Satan and speaks of that serpent way back in Genesis 3. And so this notion then is that the dragon is sent to earth and he pursues the woman and he tries to overcome her, and various pitfalls are described in Revelation 12 that rescue the woman. The woman prevails. And this is the point of encouragement for us this afternoon, that the church prevails against persecution of the devil. And the devil, of course, this great old dragon, is eventually completely defeated. And that's our hope. That's our hope today in the Christmas story, that the woman will survive, will persevere, that God will not be defeated, that Christ was not defeated on the cross. That old serpent, the devil, thought that he had defeated Christ, the Son of God, by sending him to the cross and seeing him there put to death. Of course, we know this story doesn't end there, and the resurrection happens, and that child, that Son of God, is caught up into heaven. And so there's drama today in the Christmas story, no matter which version, if you like, you're drawn to or you can get a hold of. This old serpent was only able to manage to bruise the head, as it were, and so there is defeat coming for that old serpent. Indeed, he is already defeated because of the resurrection of Christ. I hope I've whetted your appetite, perhaps to get a closer read at this book, but I hope also that I've encouraged you today, no matter what trials or tribulation or persecution that Christians are facing around the world, God is still on the throne, and one day we will see that old serpent finally and forever put to death. He's only going through the death throes, as it were. He is defeated, and that woman, that people of God, are rescued, and we're safe today. Tune in tomorrow and we'll catch another Advent thought. Thank you.